My family laughed. You're our retirement plan. We did enough already. My brother said, you'd be homeless without them anyway. I smiled, left for one night, and came back with the papers that left them screaming outside. I'm 28, single, and live in Texas, not some big city, just a working-class town near Fort Worth. If you drove through it, you'd barely notice. And maybe that's how I felt most of my life, barely noticed. Except when my family needed something. I'm the youngest. My older brother, Mark, is 3 years older than me. Growing up, Mark was always the star. Football team, parties, charm. He had this way of making everyone like him. Even when he failed, people still smiled at him like he'd done something right. Meanwhile, I was quiet. Kept my head down, studied hard, and worked part-time since I was 16. Our parents, Dave and Marla, weren't cruel, just selfish. They worked factory jobs for a while, then bounced between gigs. Always short on money. Always tired. Always blaming the world. But they made it clear early on, they'd already done their part. The rest was up to us. Only it wasn't us. It was me. Mark dropped out of college after 2 years of partying. Came back home and never really left. He said he was figuring things out. That was 5 years ago. He still lives like a teenager, gaming all night and sleeping until noon. I went to community college, transferred to a state school, and then got a job at an accounting firm in Dallas. I commute about an hour each way. The pay's not amazing, but it's stable. I don't live fancy. I just wanted to build something for myself. But my family had other plans. It started small. I'd come home on weekends, and my mom would ask for help with groceries. Then the car needed a repair. Then the electric bill was behind. Then it was the mortgage. One thing after another. 3 years ago, they told me they were going to lose the house unless someone helped. Their credit was trashed. The loan company wouldn't work with them. I stepped in, put the mortgage under my name, used my income. I thought I was doing the right thing. They didn't say thank you. They just acted like it was expected. Since then, I've been paying for everything. The mortgage, utilities, insurance. And still, every time I showed up, it was like I owed them more. They joked that I was the successful one, but it never felt like a compliment. It felt like a setup. The breaking point came on a Friday night. I had worked 60 hours that week, barely sleeping. I came home, just hoping for peace and quiet. Instead, I walked into a house full of noise. Music blasting. Mark and his buddies drinking in the living room. Mom and Dad laughing in the kitchen with pizza boxes all over the counters, food I paid for, by the way. I didn't yell. I didn't slam doors. I just walked in and said, "Hey, can y'all keep it down? I've got to be up early." Mark rolled his eyes. "God, you're such a buzzkill." Dad raised his beer and said, "Don't be so uptight. You're doing fine. You're our retirement plan, remember." The room burst out laughing. I stood there, feeling something snap. Mom wiped her hands on a paper towel and said, "We raised you. We did enough already." Mark leaned back, smirking. "Besides, you'd be homeless without them anyway. Don't forget that." I didn't say a word. I smiled. Then I went upstairs, packed a small duffel bag, and walked out. I didn't go far. I stayed with Ben, a friend from work, just for one night. He owed me a favor, and I needed someone I could trust. Ben's cousin is a real estate lawyer. I told them everything. Showed them the mortgage documents, the deed. Turns out, I wasn't just a co-signer. I was the owner. Because my parents' credit was so bad, they had to put everything under my name. My income, my identity, my name on every line. They didn't even read what they signed. They just wanted the house saved. And now I had full legal control. The next morning, we filed the paperwork. Sent official notices. Set the process in motion. That evening, I returned home. Mark was on the couch in gym shorts, eating cereal straight from the box. Mom was in the kitchen on the phone. Dad was asleep in the recliner. I walked in and laid a folder on the table. "What's this?" Mom asked. I looked her in the eye. "Read it." She flipped through it. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Dad stirred. "What the hell is this crap?" Mark stood up. "Is this some kind of joke?" "No," I said. "It's not a joke. I own this house. Not you. Not Mom. Not Dad. Me." "You can't do that," Mom shouted. "Yes, I can," I said. "You all signed it 3 years ago." Mark snatched the papers and looked through them like he understood what he was reading. "You're kicking us out?" I nodded. 30 days. "That's the law." "You little bastard," Dad growled. "After everything we've done for you?" I laughed. It was the first real laugh I'd had in years. "You didn't raise me," I said. "You used me." Mom started crying. Mark started shouting. Dad called me a traitor. But none of it mattered. The legal notice was filed. The sheriff would enforce it if they didn't leave willingly. That night, I drove back to Ben's place. I didn't sleep. I just stared at the ceiling and wondered how long it would take for the screaming to stop. The first few days after I served them the papers were quiet. Too quiet. I didn't hear anything from them. No calls, no texts. I half expected threats, maybe even cops showing up at my door. But nothing. I thought maybe they'd finally realized it was over. Maybe they were planning to pack up and leave. I started to feel a little guilt, like maybe I went too far. That ended fast. A week later, I got a message from my manager at work. She pulled me into her office and shut the door. Said someone had called HR with concerns about my conduct. Accusations of harassment, financial fraud, even drug use. I knew exactly who it was. They didn't even bother hiding it well. The caller ID was blocked, but the voicemail they left HR included my dad's dumb voice saying, "He's not who you think he is." I handled it. HR cleared me after a quick investigation. There was no proof of anything. My manager said I was lucky it was so obvious. Still, it was a warning shot. They weren't going to go quietly. Then came the social media posts. My brother made this dramatic post about heartless family members who kicked their own blood out on the street. Photos of the house. Of my parents crying on the porch. People we grew up with, old neighbors, church friends, started messaging me. One of them, Mrs. Keller from across the street, even called me a monster. I didn't explain anything. I just blocked them all. They wanted to ruin me? Fine. Let them try. But they weren't done. 2 weeks before the eviction date, I came back to the house to check on things. Make sure the property hadn't been trashed. When I pulled into the driveway, the front door was wide open. I walked in slowly. The smell hit me first. Cigarettes. Alcohol. Something rotting. The living room was wrecked. Holes in the wall. Couch ripped open. Empty beer cans everywhere. A broken TV screen. Someone had spray-painted "Traitor" across the wall in red. Mark stood in the hallway, drunk out of his mind. "You came to watch us suffer?" he slurred. "Come take a victory lap?" I ignored him. Walked past him into the kitchen. Someone had dumped food on the floor, smashed dishes, poured milk into drawers. "This is what you get," Mark said behind me. "You turned your back on your family. Now we turn our back on you." I turned and looked him dead in the eyes. "I gave you years," I said. "Rent-free. Bill-free. I gave you everything, and you laughed in my face. You called me your retirement plan." Mark's face twisted. "You think this makes you strong? You're just a selfish little piece of shit. You'll end up alone. Just like you deserve." I walked out. Didn't say another word. Next morning, I reported the damage. The sheriff issued a formal warning. If they damaged anything else, they'd face charges. Real ones this time. No more family excuses. A week before the deadline, I got a call from Aunt Denise. She's my mom's older sister. I hadn't spoken to her in years. "I know they've done you wrong," she said. "But can't you find it in your heart to give them more time? They're your parents." "No," I said. "They made their bed." She sighed. "You're not wrong. But this This will follow you. I hope it does. 3 days before the move-out deadline, I got a text from Ben while I was at work. You need to come by the house. Now. No explanation. Just that. I left early, heart pounding. I hadn't been back since the vandalism. When I pulled into the driveway, I saw a moving truck. Not theirs, mine. The one I had scheduled for the locksmith and cleaners after they were out. It was there early, and my parents were loading stuff into it. I parked and stormed out of my car. What the hell is this? I shouted. Mark was directing two random guys, probably friends or people they paid under the table, to carry boxes out of the house. My mom stood on the porch with her arms crossed. Dad sat on a lawn chair, looking smug as hell. You weren't using the truck yet, Mom said. We figured we'd borrow it. We'll return it. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. You don't have permission to use that, I said. And you sure as hell can't take things that don't belong to you. Mark smirked. What, you gonna call the cops on your own family? Yes, I said. I didn't even hesitate. I absolutely am. He laughed like I was bluffing. So I pulled out my phone and dialed. Loud. Right in front of them. That wiped the smile off his face. The two guys helping them panicked first. Dropped the boxes and got back in their truck. Didn't even say goodbye. By the time the police showed up, my parents were full of excuses, said it was all a misunderstanding. Just moving a few personal items early. But when the officers opened a few boxes, they found more than personal items. Jewelry. Electronics. Some of my documents, files from the locked drawer in the office I used to work from when visiting. They'd gone through my stuff. That was the last straw. I filed charges. It wasn't just about the house anymore. It was about them trying to steal what little I had left that they hadn't already drained. They were told to vacate in 48 hours. No exceptions. The next day, I checked the house again. This time, they were gone. No goodbye. No apology. Just an empty house that smelled like stale beer and betrayal. But something was off. The garage door was half open. I went inside and saw a fireproof box, wide open and empty. My social security card, passport, birth certificate, all gone. They'd stolen my identity documents. I froze. My stomach dropped. I called Ben. Then I called the police. Then I called the bank. Too late. They tried to open a new credit card in my name. Someone had applied for a loan in my name just hours earlier. They were trying to wreck my credit. Get one last hit before they disappeared. I got ahead of it, locked my accounts, filed a fraud report, and flagged everything. But I was done playing defense. So I made another call. To someone I hadn't talked to in a long time. Aunt Denise. She picked up after 2 rings. They stole my identity, I said flatly. I'm going after them. There was silence on the line. Then she said something I didn't expect. Good. I met Aunt Denise at a diner just outside Arlington. She was already sipping her coffee when I got there, calm like she knew this day would come. They crossed a line, I told her. This isn't just family drama anymore. They tried to ruin me. She nodded. I've watched your parents take and take from everyone around them for years. You're just the first one who had the guts to fight back. I told her everything. About the stolen documents, the fraud attempts, the lies, the vandalism, and now, the identity theft. She didn't defend them. Not once. Then she told me something I didn't know. They put the house in your name because they never planned to keep paying it. Your mom said it herself. Let the kid take it over. He owes us. They never saw me as family. I was just a resource. So I pushed harder. Through Ben's cousin, we opened a full legal case. Filed identity theft reports. Requested surveillance footage from stores where they tried to use my ID. Tracked down the new credit card application. It was done at a shady strip mall office with a fingerprint-required digital pad. Their fingerprints. Then the real twist hit. Mark had tried to open a business in my name. A fake landscaping company. Claimed a $15,000 small business grant. Forged my signature. Used a fake address. I only found out because a rejection letter came to the old house, which had already been forwarded to my new address. That was federal-level fraud. I went all in. The cops arrested him first. At a bar. He resisted, of course. Cussed out the officer. Tried to play the victim. It was on the news for a day, local channel, nothing major. But enough to bury his name in our town forever. Mom and Dad weren't arrested right away. But they were investigated. IRS got involved. Turns out, they'd been hiding debt for years. Used fake names, unpaid taxes, hidden income. They weren't smart. Just desperate. The house? I sold it. Cheap. I didn't care. I just wanted it gone. I moved into a new place in Dallas. Changed every lock, every password, every shred of personal history. Set up fraud alerts for life. And cut off everyone who ever shared my blood. But it didn't end clean. See, when the police showed up at my parents' last known address to question them, my mom tried something. She fell to her knees and screamed that I'd set them up. That I'd forged everything. That I'd been plotting this since college. Dad backed her up. Said I was mentally unstable. Said I was abusive. It didn't work. The evidence was too solid. But it hit me harder than I expected. I had to go through a full background check at work. The FBI called me. Asked if I knew my parents had once opened a joint account under my name when I was 17. I didn't. That one almost got me fired. It took weeks to clear. I got through it. But I lost something I'll never get back. Trust. Peace. Family. Even after they were exposed, even after they were ruined, I still caught myself wondering if I'd gone too far. If I'd made it personal. But then I remember what my brother said. You'd be homeless without them anyway. No, Mark. You were all just homeless without me. They never recovered. Last I heard, Mom and Dad live in a rundown trailer with a cousin in Oklahoma. Mark has a court date for the grant fraud and probably won't see freedom for a few years. Me? I'm still in Dallas. Still working. Still quiet. But different now. Colder. Wiser. Harder. I learned that being the good one means nothing to people who only see you as a meal ticket. So I stopped trying to be good. Now, I just make sure no one ever sees me coming. And I never let anyone close enough to take from me again.